Hello, welcome back to Art of the Game. This is where we talk about tabletop role-playing games. We are three game masters with different experiences, different games, and we like to share tips and tricks and debate and talk about stuff. And today, what are we talking about?
Well, first off, you don't get to find out what water I'm drinking. They got to pay for that advertising. Yes,
You
so we're
say
talking
that as
about.
you flash the label.
I know I fucked that up. You'll have to edit that out in post. But no, we are talking about children, which is interesting. We didn't set it up this way, but it kind of bleeds in from the previous two episodes in a rather organic way that was unintended. But last weekend, I was at a show, big surprise, and I was talking to a lady who was running a game for her nieces and nephews, and she felt like it went really badly. Mom had a different opinion, but she was basically running little kids, and it's interesting that running a game for small children is a very different experience than running it for adults, and so you have to kind of approach it very differently. And there's all kinds of horror stories. I personally think that you should, 15 is where I would start doing it. I don't really want to do small children. I think I want to have a teenager who's smart enough to kind of get it, but the little kids see people playing D&D and they want to join in. And so how do you handle that? And I think she did a fantastic job, even though she felt like she blew it from talking to her. But you guys got an opinion there?
Yeah, I've played with a kid that was like 7 or 8, I think.
Yeah.
And like a 14-year-old. And my experience is, one, if you go too early, the math alone gets very frustrating with kids.
Yeah.
And it'll make them not like the game if they're too young, just because of the math alone. He was like trying to use all his fingers and stuff, and it was hard for him to do it. But if you get kids, like let's say between 12 and 14 or 10 and 14 or something like that, I will say they're hard to keep on track to something long term, obviously.
Yeah.
But they are way more creative than adults. I found that they don't have, like, adults will see a set of rules and be like, this is what I'm constrained by, is the rules that I see in front of me. Kids don't have that at all. Like, she wanted to pull out like a pickaxe and start like Minecrafting through something. And it's just like, you can let them do whatever they want, right? And the 14-year-old did some really creative, fun things actually that adults would not think of. Some dark things too, now thinking about it. But anyway, and I thought it was actually a lot of fun. Playing with that range. But you should not expect to get that age group to be like, here's a super long-term goal that you have to like slow burn towards. It's just, I don't think it'll work.
Some of those little kids have got it together better than we do, as well. Like they've got it figured out very early, and that they're on it.
Yeah, I still remember like we were going to a cave where they just had to recover some artifact. I had to make up a whole one shot in like 15 minutes. But anyways, we're going to like a cave with a bugbear who had some stolen artifact from some village they were working for, and she was a rogue, and she climbed up around the edges and started saying like, I'm the children that you slaughtered. I'm going back that one to you, or something like that to the bug. And just freaked the bugbear out and actually rolled well on it, right? And I was like, man, no adult players would think of doing that.
Yep.
Like, there was nothing that said like this bugbear did horrible things to children or anything. She just made all that up.
Yeah. Well, the lady I was talking
kind of dark, but
well, the lady I was talking to kind of had to pivot in the middle of it because she realized the kids weren't like into a classic experience, and she has like had to like let it become My Little Pony to a degree. But once she engaged with once she engaged with the kids' interest level, they were on board.
Yeah. You have to do it to their interest level. That's a good way of putting it.
And you also have to be aware that sometimes they don't have the attention span for a long, involved game. Marks, you've done a lot with kids. I'll probably a different age range, but where do you weigh in on this?
Yeah, like nieces and nephews and stuff. As maybe an adult, I think the youngest they were 14. So but yeah, even at 14, 15, math could be a little bit tricky for them sometimes, and
it's just not immediate like it is for us.
Yeah. But yeah, they can be creative. It is hard to keep their attention. You got to make sure they're not looking at their phones constantly. But they enjoyed it. It's fun. It's a fun family thing to do, or getting to know family, and they can be very creative, and they do like to don't always constrain themselves in the rules. Usually, the younger they are, it's like that. They also have a slant. I notice after a while, some of them have more of a slant towards like anime when they're thinking about what's happening. So once you realize that, and play to that a little bit, then I think it makes a better experience for them. So.
Well, also kind of going off of like the topic we were just, last two topics too, like, when you're introducing kids to the game, yeah, maybe they've heard about D&D, but that might not be really the thing that they'd be excited about, because like there are games based on anime, right? There's, you could, I'm sure you can find a Gundam RPG. I bet it's out there, and you slap a 11-year-old kid into the pilot of a mech suit, pilot compartment of mech suit. I bet they are on effing board, because like, when I saw Robotech as a kid and then discovered the Robotech RPG at the game store, you couldn't separate me from my money fast enough. Like I still have that first book on my shelf, the very first RPG I ever bought. It's right down here, and like I could pull it out right now. Like it is, like I could not buy that thing quick enough.
I do think I have a very small sample base, but I do think they wanted to play D&D because they hear about it all the time, and they like Stranger Things. We did play Monster of the Week first, which they really enjoyed, and then
that is a good introductory game system for kids.
Yeah. Rules light games great. For people before they've been corrupted or at least biased by D&D. And then we played a lot of D&D and stuff. And honestly, right now they're kind of like, other games. They like Marvel Multiverse more right now because they like Marvel, and they like.
I could see that too.
They honestly are like. They still like D&D and they want to play more, but they're kind of like. I kind of like if it's more rules light. It's more fun. It moves faster for them, so they get kind of bored sometimes if it drags. Which D&D can sometimes drag a little bit.
Well, I mean, you also have to do more for them. You have to like, okay, roll these dice, right? And okay, you probably need to use miniatures or some sort of a demo like on the table. Like you got like this dice is the monster, this die is you. You should like, they're probably going to depend more on physical representations of what's happening than we would normally. Like, theater of the mind is probably more difficult for them.
They don't, it's funny because it's like Monster Week, we did Theater of Mind and they were cool with it. And then once we started doing D&D, we got more and more into miniature type stuff.
Yeah.
And they had a harder time imagining it, but then it slowed things down a little bit for them. And now we're back to kind of Theater of Mind, and they seem to enjoy it. It's been an interesting experience.
Yeah.
And one of them is really big now and is big into role-playing games and is starting to GM. And they actually, I asked him, whatever you say. I said, sure, go ahead. He ran one game as a GM with playing a game that's 5e, but it's anime-ish. So Studio Ghibli or whatever it's called, inspired. Ghibli, that's right.
Yeah.
And so I played Studio Ghibli music on a speaker while we played the game and stuff, and they had a lot of fun. So just meet them where they're at. Biggest things, keep their attention.
Yeah.
And
if they have trouble with attention, like just knowing myself back then, if there's problems with attention, just make a shorter feedback loop. In other words, like reward system loop, I should say. Like make it so you're going you have some company and you're just going out on little adventures, collecting, getting things, coming back, going on the next one, right? Yeah. Something simple like that would probably work well for people who have attention problems.
Well, there's another way to do it too, because like you can also be the adult, right? You're taking a kid to the game for the first time. Like I remember I was at a show. I was kind of a guest at this con in Texas called ChimeraCon. I was there with a friend who was an artist I was working with at the time, and he would go to the show, and he was like the only artist, so he'd have a monopoly on commissions, which was kind of fun. So I got in on a Pathfinder game, and I was playing in this game, and so there was a father with his kid, and I think his kid's probably 11 or 10, right? So dad's playing with his son and introduce him to the game. And that's like a pretty safe place to be, because you got me at the table and then there's other two people. There might have been one more person, but it's like this kid is then being helped by the adult. And that works really well too. And like I did something similar with this kid that I was taking him to Comic-Con, that I used to kind of do the Big Brother program with it. Not officially, I was doing it as a favor to his mom. But I took him to Comic-Con and he wanted to play D&D. So we'd get in on one of the D&D games, and he was all very nervous that he wouldn't be taken seriously because he's a kid, right? But everybody at the table was super cool, and he ended up like didn't know what to do. I'm like, dude, just do it. You know, you want to do this, go for it. You know, don't ask permission, just do it. And he ended up taking a risk that made him the MVP of the whole game.
Nice.
And so that was really cool. So it's like you don't just have to be a GM for a bunch of kids. You could have one kid and you're taking the kid, to the game. And that also can work really well.
Yeah, my introduction to role-playing games was my mom used to work at a library, so I would stay there after school and stuff, or on summers sometimes. And this other librarian was running a Star Wars role-playing game for her two kids and their friends.
That's how you got into Star Wars.
And that's how I was like, what is this? And they're like, okay, sure, you can play.
Yeah.
And that's how I first got into it. So, and there were like, one was my age, and then the others were like teenagers in high school and stuff. And yeah, so as an adult who introduced me to role-playing games, then I got the habit from there. So, and I passed that hobby on to another generation.
No, that's fair. It can definitely be an addiction. I mean, I bought a lot of books over the years on my shelf here. So, hey, Greg, what's your story as being a kid getting into RPGs?
Yeah, mine was, I went to someone's house, a friend at the time, and his brother played it. His older brother introduced me to second edition, and I'd played a little bit, and then I went and found a game called Dark Sun Shattered Lands, which is a second edition video game, and I played that so much I just got addicted to D&D from that. I still like second edition somewhat.
Yeah. I was introduced to second edition AD&D by a friend of mine in school, and I wasn't really into it that much. I was just mostly there because he wanted to play, and I didn't really even learn the rules. Never read the books. I just, I kind of like the storytelling aspect of it, and I wanted to do that. And I liked to, at the time, I was kind of enjoying designing dungeons. I grew out of that real fast, but it wasn't until I found a game that I actually liked for myself that I, went and picked up, and I got into it because I needed something that I was actually interested in, and that was not fantasy.
What was that?
Well, we talked about last episode. It was Robotech.
Okay, Robotech.
Yeah, the original Robotech RPG. I could see.
Yeah, that's Palladium, right?
It is.
Okay.
But they have the Robotech license. Who cares?
Wait.
No, I don't know
mine was definitely second edition.
It was this. This is what got me into RPGs. Because the cartoon was on, and I'm like, hell yeah. And then the other thing that came out was this. Where is it? And then this came out shortly after. Yeah, and between these two books, this is why I played Palladium, because the two most awesome things I'd ever seen were Palladium games, and I, of course, wanted to keep going and expand my collection. And then Rifts came out. I got Heroes Unlimited, Ninja Super Spies, all that stuff, and they all went together. Crazy. So every time you got a book, you could add it all. You could add to your collection, and look how beat up these books are. So beat up.
The first time I played a role playing game that was not D&D, not including Hero Quest, was probably Pathfinder 1E. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and we actually got into see when I was introducing people to games, I was introducing people to games that I liked, that I had, which is of course Rifts, Palladium Fantasy, Heroes Limited, all that stuff. And so it wasn't until much later when somebody is like, hey, people were into World of Warcraft, and then they wanted to play the World of Warcraft RPG came out. They wanted to try it out, and it was 3.5. Right.
No, I played something else. I played ICE, Iron Crown Enterprises.
Okay.
I've never played that.
With all that was the first one I played after D&D, actually. I still miss those charts. Man, some of those critting charts were so fun.
Well, what was interesting about the WoW RPG is that we had to go get a copy of 3.5 because the book was just badly written enough that some of the stuff didn't make sense. So we had to actually go get, the original. Like there were some critical questions that were not actually properly answered, but it was that's how we ended up branching out away from Palladium, is the WoW RPG, and then we tried Pathfinder and some other stuff, but the Rifts RPG was still like the center, all that stuff. But it was and I played the Amber RPG as well. That was a hell of a game.
There it is right there.
Yes, there it is. But I have both the books. Did you know that when Eric Witchkick died, he was in the middle of doing the third one?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he actually had commissioned the cover.
Darn you for dying.
I know. He had I've actually seen the cover now. I'm like, oh, we could have had a third book. Damn it. Oh my God, those books are so good. So
I will say,
anyways.
with going back to kids,
Yeah.
there is a certain type of kid that will be better for this type of thing for sure.
Yeah.
Like like for instance, when I was young, I love D&D and I could do the slow burn. Actually, I didn't need the constant feedback. I loved it, and I played with adults actually when I was that young. And it's some people are like that. I was very quiet and shy growing up, so those type of kids probably like it more.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's hard to know who's going to get the bug, right? Like if you're going to, like, the kids are going to want to try it out. They're going to like, I think a lot of people that try out RPGs don't stick with it. I mean, that's, they go on to other interests, or it's a gateway. Like, it's interesting. It's turning out like a staggering amount of people in Hollywood got into RPGs through the Ninja Turtles, and then they like they went into other, like, this was their gateway drug, and then they got into other industries, like they're in the movies, they're in the comics or something, right?
Okay.
It's like so many comic book artists started RPGs with the Ninja Turtles. And
I fell out of it actually for years.
Yeah.
I stopped playing like 10 years or something like that.
Yeah, I've had a few breaks, but I mean, I've got this pretty much ever since I picked up Robotech. I have a near unending, path. It's like I've got. It's interesting going to shows right now and saying, "Hey, how long have you been a GMO? 2 years?" Or like, "I've been at it for 5 years." I've been at it for 35, and they're like, "Oh my God, this guy knows what he's talking about."
Geek. No,
I know, right? Nerd.
Nerd.
It's a weird thing to say, but it's like suddenly you wake up one day and you realize, oh, you're the elder statesman that actually does know. Like, you're the one that actually knows, and these other people that think they've got it figured out don't have a clue. And it is a weird thing to realize that suddenly you're the old man with gray hair, and
it's been like 22, no, almost 30 years for me. Holy crap!
That you've been
I
playing.
didn't even think about that.
GMing.
Playing, GMing's a lot less than that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I literally have 35 years behind the screen, like almost with a few breaks, but not very many.
I have GM'd, but I wasn't like the main GM by any means.
Yeah.
I'm still not.
So,
really.
Well, I think that kids are the future of any industry, right? Like, and like you have to like.
And there are kid-friendly RPGs out there. I mean, there are ones made for kids, younger kids.
Yeah. But like you gotta like introduce people early to these things, and they've got to like develop their fandom and give them a chance to go have fun, because like kids want to do the things that adults are doing, and there's no reason why they can't. And they've it's like they and it's not just about creating lifelong people that are just going to play this role-playing game, but it's also it ignites their creativity and teaches them that there's more avenues for them to pursue, right? And
they can get into art, they can get into writing, they can get
exactly, and
design or whatever.
Yeah, because they can discover so many more things and options in life. It's not just working at the plant or being a clerk at a store. It's like you can get into creative fields and discover. Some of these kids might discover they have a flair for acting, and they might not have had an opportunity to discover that. Like our friend Greg over here.
Yeah, D&D is actually the reason I got into programming. It's I played the game some, whatever, and then ever since then I went to my family's computer. I found BASIC, the programming language, on it. I taught myself how to do it from the help menu under the explicit goal, I'm going to make my own RPG because I like D&D.
Nice, very nice.
So I basically started programming because of that.
Well, I actually took my now granted I didn't not enter the industry proper. I'm kind of like one of those indie creators, but like I have had some professional work, but like I took my experience as a game master and rolled that into a writing career on the side, and so and it turned out that like that ability as a learning how to like do story structures and stuff in an RPG translates very well into other areas.
Yeah, I think it's influenced me with filmmaking and writing too. So for sure.
Yeah. No doubt.
And what I really love about for kids, if you're a parent or whatever, a parent in the future, I think what I love about it compared to video games is I feel like it's a social activity. It uses your
Yes.
brain more, and you'll socialize with people, and you're not fighting against each other. At least most games are not.
Yeah.
You're learning to cooperate and work together, which is a good skill for life in general. So,
Yeah, and
I've
video
learned,
games. Oh,
yeah.
go
I was gonna
ahead,
say I
Frank.
learned to be social from 3 different places. The
Oh.
first one was D&D. The second one was World of Warcraft and running large raids.
Yeah.
And the third one was work. But but it did start with D&D for sure.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is like, you've got the role playing game is one of the only entertainment mediums we have where you're not constrained, right? And and like you look at video games and like some of them are wonderful works of art. Like I'd say Final Fantasy VII. Oh my God, right? But you can only play the story that's in there. There's very few options, and like even these complex games with all these storyline, like Baldur's Gate has all these storyline options and ways you can go, but you're still limited by what the programmers have built into it, and it cannot go outside of that walled garden, as you said. But an RPG, you can do anything, and so engaging with creativity, like the kinds of limitations that make it work are not the kind of limitations that can control what you can do. It's like you obviously have this storyline and this world, and you're obviously hemmed in by the choices you make, which determine what happens next. And these are good lessons for the kids to understand because choices have consequences. But like, you're not going to get any of that in any other entertainment medium. Like, books and novels and comics, they only have the story that's written. Movies only have the story they filmed, right? And TV shows, right? Same thing. But with an RPG, you can go anywhere, you can do anything, you can have any experience. And
frees up your imagination.
Yeah. And yeah, it's really good for teaching cooperation. And you can do it with something you can do with your kids.
And I would say role playing games push genre in new directions too. Like there's
it does. Yeah.
Stuff I see in role playing games years ahead before I see it on a movie or TV show or something. So
yeah, it's interesting though. Like in my generation, like there was no way in hell I ever would have saw my parents joining it at the table, and neither of them thought it was a good idea. They weren't necessarily going to stop me, but like they saw it as a kid's thing. I needed to grow up, and but it's like you should be engaging with your kids in a way where like you're participating in things that they want to do. It makes a difference one day. How
it's
they
a lot better than sitting there and watching Barney or whatever cartoon you watch.
I will say this: when it comes to kids, the worst thing you can do is to make them think that your life revolves around them. They should think that they live within your life, and part of that is having passions and hobbies that they can be a part of. But you shouldn't think that you're just going to make your life about them. No. You want to see that you love life, that you have passions, you have things you want to do, and the kids will pick that up as well. That's like an important.
I mean, the whole point of having kids is to create adults. We're not having kids to have kids. We're having kids to raise them and create adults that now are going to go out into society and have it and contribute. And I think a lot of parents overlook that fact.
Well, you'd hope they do anyway.
Yeah, well, they do.
All right. Well, I think we talked a lot about
Yes, we did. Great. We got an episode that was under 30 minutes, Marks.
Yeah. So I'm cutting it now.
Okay.
Cutting it short. Like
one last thing. No,
one last thing. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Have you had any experience playing kids? When did you start? What age were you when you started playing?
Do you have kids?
Do you have kids?
Yeah.
Have you introduced them to games? Why not? But no, I'm curious. What experiences have you had playing kids? Got any tips you want to share? And then also what we kind of shared unexpectedly in the game or in this episode is like, what was your first game and how young were you? Did an adult introduce you to it or not? So
when was your first TPK?
Yeah, and that too, because it's important. It's life altering.
Teach those kids the lessons. Welcome to real life.
Yeah, there's life before TPK and life after.
I've had a couple of those, and they were always instigated by the players themselves. They doomed themselves.
That's what every DM says.
Yeah. Well,
all right. Well,
maybe there's a topic. Talk about the times we wiped a party.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. And until next time, please subscribe and like, and we'll see you next time on Art of the Game.
Peace.
When the dice roll high, we touch the sky. But when they crash, it's a belly laugh. Genre play, lighting the way.